Hello to everyone who's watching and listening. I'm going to be talking about stress, as stress is a buzzword uh, in today's times. And usually, when we talk about stress, we talk about it in a negative, with a negative connotation. But I'm going to try and talk about stress in a balanced way today, where some of it is positive and how and when it gets into negative space and hard to handle. What is stress? So, stress essentially is a combination of two things. One is the psychological perception of pressure and how the body responds to it. So, it is psychological plus physical. And from when we perceive something to be stressful, there is a lot of systems that it involves to actually experience the stress throughout the body. And I haven't named all of it, but essentially, largely as a umbrella perspective, there's metabolism, muscles, and the memory largely involved. It obviously involves circulatory systems, the endocrine systems, and all the rest of it. Stress is it's very essential for us as well, because it teaches us a lot of things as well. It teaches us how to respond to challenges and uncertainties of our existence, which are inevitable. So long as we are alive and on this planet, life is going to throw and make us go through various experiences that we don't necessarily feel prepared for. How do we respond to stress? Some of the positive stress we feel, like deadlines or exams, it makes us go on to the next goal of our life, and it makes us more it makes it more familiar to us to go through to go through a challenge, because then it increases productivity and it also helps us to focus more, which is concentration. It can also be a motivator to solve problems and also have more goals, place more goals, because now I can do this much, तो मैं आगे भी कर सकती हूँ. Managing acute stress sometimes can be challenging, and negative stress is when it starts to interfere with the ability to perform. मन नहीं कर रहा कुछ करने के लिए, या बहुत distracted हूँ मैं, बहुत जल्दी रो पड़ती हूँ, या zone out हो जाती हूँ, impatient हूँ, frustrated हूँ, or even angry. So if there is some behavior change, and one doesn't really, sometimes one may not really know that they're stressed, but it can show up in behavior, and that is something that one can pay attention to by talking to someone else, or even introspecting by yourself. What are the causes of stress? So the cause of stress is called stressors, which is the source or the stimulus that causes the stress. So, like I said, when you go through exams, so exam is the stress. There are two kinds of responses. There's eustress and there is distress. I think we are more familiar with the word distress because we all use it at some point of time or the other, which is the harmful response to a stressor. When you are distressed, you may act out the stress by anger, by irritation, by social withdrawal, and a lot of the other things. Whereas eustress is a healthier way. Like if I'm feeling a little bit of stress, I may think of talking to a friend, or I may try and go for a walk, or I may try and reach out to a family member or someone else who I think I can share with, or maybe occupy myself, distract myself into music, some form of creative activity, or even work more. General adaptation stages to stress. So there are 3 stages in how we experience the stress. First is the alarm, where most of you may be familiar with the fight, flight, or freeze response where you get information or you come to know of something which is alarming. So you literally go through an alarm phase. Then you go through a resistance phase because I don't want that to happen. So it's literally like you're resisting and pushing the experience away, hoping that it goes away, except that it doesn't. The third is the fatigue. When there is prolonged stress and the body has the ability to adapt, but when it starts to actually feel tired, certain symptoms may show up. So to prevent stress, we need to feed all four, which is the body, mind, spirit, and emotions. Now I come to the reduction strategies that can help you live a more positive and energized life. So the first one is to identify the stressor. Stop procrastinating. The fact that, I think each one of us has a tendency to say, we'll figure it out later. We'll do it. कल करते हैं, परसों करते हैं. So the delays also increase your stress levels. Third is keeping your balance. So I've given you 6 strategies here. So the third one is keeping your balance, which is protecting your time from overcommitments that you can't control. Fourth is avoid negative escapes. Number 5 is break out of isolation. Take good care of your body. Is mental trauma a form of aggravated stress condition? Trauma in itself is stress, and prolonged stress can also be translated into trauma. So I don't know what the trajectory is here. However, it's interdependent and interlinked. How to know stress is getting alarming and seek doctor's advice. If there is any kind of dysfunctionality that is creeping in, like you want to, socialize and you're not able to, there's isolation happening, बहुत ज़्यादा loss of energy हो रही है, fatigue हो रहा है, loss of interest हो रहा है, lack of enthusiasm है, lack of interest है, बातचीत करने को मन नहीं करता, बहुत रोना आता है. All these are indicators that you need help. Too much of social media and stress? Yes, good question. Social media encourages people to compare and compete with things that are presented in a pictorial form or an image, which is a moment. It is not the trajectory of life. And thereby, because of the constant comparison, and it gives you feelings of, I'm not good enough to be like that, or I'm not happy enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not beautiful enough, and that is how the stress builds up. Thank you for having me here, and I hope you benefited from whatever little information I could bring to share with you. So thank you, everyone.